Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alimatul Kiptia. Thank you very much. Good evening, good night for Indonesian time, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much for joining the webinar on women's rights in Islam, an Islamic perspective on advancing women's property right. Before starting the webinar, let's pray together. I will lead the dua with the Islamic tradition. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma sholli ala Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arinal batila batila warzuqna ijtinaba. Allahumma ilman nafi'an. Allahumma ilman wasi'an. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim, ihdinas siratal mustaqim, ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Subhanaka rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. Thank you very much for dua praying together with us. Okay, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, today we will have a webinar, Women Rights in Islam, with topic on Islamic perspective on advancing women's right, women's property right. Al-Azhar University, Muhammadiyah, and Faith to Action Network aim to enable Islamic scholars and Muslim faith leaders access to faith literacy on women's rights in Islam. The three institutions recognize the engaging Muslim faith actors on women's rights issues is crucial because faith actors play an important role in shaping and influencing behavior of the communities they serve. Therefore, we have organized a series of 6 dialogues that aim to create a safe space for Muslim faith actors to share perspective and insight on women's rights in Islam. The meeting will give a theological grounding and understanding on what Islamic texts say about women's rights. The dialogues aims to intersect Islamic theological and normative practice ideas. Its aim to steer a debate around women's rights as supposed in various Islamic literature with a view to influence the uplifting of women's rights. At the end of this series, Faith to Action Network will publish a collection of theological and practice paper in the form of an internal journal, as we seek to contribute to the body politic of Islamic theological and practice debate as they relate to women's rights. It is our hope as we Faith to Action Network that this small deed will contribute to shaping the debate and influencing promoting of women's rights in Islam across the world, and that you will all enjoy and participate in this webinar. The first dialogue was held on 30th of May 2022 and covered the topic on Islamic perspective on preventing violence against women and girls. And the second dialogue covered an Islamic perspective on bodily integrity. Under the topic, we will discuss the issue around advancing property right for women in Islam. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I will introduce for the first speaker, which is Dr. Ai Fatimah Nur Fuad. We are so lucky today we have the speaker that very influential person and also knowledgeable. For the first speaker, which is Dr. Ai Fatimah Nur Fuad. Dr. Fatimah is an associate professor and vice dean of academic affairs Faculty of Islamic Studies at University of Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Hamka, Jakarta. She received her PhD and MA on Religion and Public Life from the University of Leeds, UK, and got her MSI or Master and LC on Islamic Studies from Al-Azhar University, Cairo, Egypt, and the University of Indonesia. Her recent publications include a female religious authority among Tarbiyah community in contemporary Indonesia, and also dakwah and politik, life experience of the female Islamists in Indonesia. Contemporary Islam, modernity, and the Islamist nation of active dakwah. So let's begin with the first speaker, Dr. Ai Fatima, and then time is for you. Please, Dr. Fatima.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Alim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, good night for Indonesian audience and good afternoon for outside Indonesian audience. I would like to thank Prof. Alim from the generous introduction, and I would like also to thank to Faith to Action Network in this great collaboration with Muhammadiyah Indonesia and Al-Azhar University in Cairo, Egypt. It's my honor to have here and share about women property rights in Islam. As we all know and realize, in many Muslim society, patriarchal culture and structure are still the main barrier to gender equality. There is the discrimination toward women, including related to property rights. The patriarchal culture provides more opportunity for men and less space for women to work outside their home. So in this case, men have more property than women, and men are placed as the economic actors. In later development, we can see that women have found more open and wider opportunity for them to access higher education, which has an impact to work outside their home, and they can guarantee their financial independence. Thus, women are able to own houses, vehicles, land, and other forms of property with the ownership document in their own names. However, we also still see that women are still don't have full control to manage their own property. Women who want to sell, rent, and remanage their property must be accompanied by a male witness to testify to their identity or seek permission from their husband or brother. So this is our real condition or phenomenon among or within our Muslim community. So what Islam say about woman property right? In Islamic teaching, women are given the same capacity and ability as men to work outside their home, to get a salary, and to own and manage the property. So property, as mentioned in the Quran, as Al-Mal mentioned 82 times, has an important and strategic value in achieving the welfare of the owner life, both male and female. Islam also regulates how men and women can properly own property and how to collect and manage and transfer the ownership of their property. So this is mentioned in many surah in Al-Quran, such as Surah An-Nur, verse 33, An-Nisa, verse 5, also An-Nisa 95. These verses are addressed to all human beings with Ya Ayyuhan Nas, without gender discrimination, and also mention amwalukum, their property, without indicate any specific gender. The hadith of the Prophet say also, Laisa khairukum man amila lil akhirah wa tarakad dunya. The best among you are not those who neglect this life for the life to come. Au amila li dunya wa tarakal akhirah, or those who neglect the life to come for the sake of the present life. Walakin khairukum man akhadha min hadhihi wa min hadhihi. On the contrary, it serves as the way to the other. This hadith advises everyone, including women, to work and struggle for their worldly affairs or ad-dunya. So in our theological basis in Islam, acquiring, owning, and managing the property is one of the 5 principles that must be protected by every human being, or called as ad-daruriyatul khamsa, namely hifduddin, protecting religion, hifdun nafs, a soul, hifdul akal, protecting mind, hifdul mal, property, and hifdun nasab, protecting a descendant. And this is the goal of the implementation of Sharia or maqasidus Sharia. So, ladies and gentlemen, Islam guarantees equal right to women and men in the ownership and management of property, whether it is obtained from work or from marriage and inheritance. In marriage, women have the right to get property both as mahar or dowry or subsistence, or called in the Quran as nafaqah. The 2 verses, An-Nisa verses 4 and 34 regarding dowry and also nafaqah or living expense, come down in the context when most women in pre-Islamic time only took care of their domestic affairs and didn't have any economic access, so that men were given the responsibility to provide both mahar and also nafaqah to women. In the spirit of gender equality, when women are allowed to work outside the house, obviously this has implication for nafaqah or living expense that can be both a shared obligation and responsibility between husband and wife, and even it become the wife responsibility in certain conditions, such as when the husband gets sick for a long time, married or gets laid off from their job, or PHK in Indonesia, quit from the job. This situation where wife has responsibility for living expenses in the family also existed in the history of Islam. So it is not the case of our current condition only, but also the case and have exist in the early history of Islam. Along hadith gave an example, and I quote only the key message of the hadith because of the limitation of the time. The hadith mentioned that wakanat Zainabu tunfiqu ala Abdillahi wa aitamin fi hajriha. So this hadith mentioned that Zainab gave the nafaqah to her husband. His name is Abdullah, and also his family and also orphanage. And she said, Zainab, he want to consult these matters to the Prophet of Muhammad. But then in front of the house of the Prophet, Rasulullah, فَوَجَدْتُ إِمْرَأَةٍ مِنَ الْأَنْصَارِ عَلَى الْبَابِ هَاجَتُهَا مِثْلُ هَاجَتِي. And she, or Zainab, found the woman from Ansar tribe who has similar purpose with her, also to consult the same matter with the Prophet Muhammad. And when they consult to the Prophet Muhammad, the Prophet said or answered, for those who gave the nafaqah for their husbands and family, lahum ajroni. So they have 2 rewards, ajrul qarabah wa ajrul sadaqah. So they have the reward of the kingship because of family, and also the reward of sadaqah. Another implication, ladies and gentlemen, is related to woman inheritance. We all know that there is a pro and contra about the woman inheritance, not only in Indonesia, but also in other Muslim country in the globe. The provision of inheritance, that women inherit half a portion of men, as mentioned in the Quran, is considered fair because the husband is obliged to give a dowry and subsistence to his wife. So the interpretation of some mufassir, such as Al-Qurtubi and Al-Tabari, the half portion for women is fair because husband have greater responsibility than women. However, I would also share with you all about the context in Arab society when the inheritance forces was revealed at the first time. So the concept of men inheriting twice as much as women were already very progressive and revolutionary at that time, because women in pre-Islamic time were deprived of any inheritance, and they don't receive inheritance at all. It is abolished because often led to the conflict among tribes. The Arab marriage tradition at that time was a marriage between two different tribes. The tribe from men or husband, the tribe from women or wife, which caused the women and their property from the woman's tribe to turn into the property of the man tribe. So the property of women will be taken over by the man tribe or husband tribe. So the first about the Surah Al-Quran about inheritance come down with the spirit of giving inheritance and property protection to women and their tribes. So the principle of justice is not about the half portion or numbers, but in the spirit for respecting and protecting women rights and their property rights. And the last, early Islamic tradition also show that religious practice is not only built through understanding the Islamic texts such as Quran and Hadith only, but also through the ijtihad or understanding the dynamic changing context through a different time and places while maintaining the spirit of Islamic justice or ijtihad. So this is also experiences or ijtihad taken by Khalid Umar bin Khattab about the Sulusul Baqi, also about the division of Fay and Ghanimah in our Islamic history. I think that's all that I can share with you all about the woman property right. And sorry for any inconvenience. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Ai Fatimah Nur Fuad, who talking about the Islamic view on property right for women. So she explained that women given the same opportunity as men to work outside and also to honor property and also to manage property. So I think that's a good point that maybe we can discuss further. So Dr. Fatimah, I have some question to you. First question, what views do communities have of women who work outside their homes, and how can this perception be positively transformed? Maybe I can repeat. What views do communities have of women who work outside their home, and how can this perception be positively transformed?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. It is an interesting and very urgent question. I would like to share about how women in our community in Indonesia, especially in Muhammadiyah and Aisyah community. So women in Muhammadiyah and also Aisyah, woman wing or women organization within the Muhammadiyah are encouraged and given opportunity and public role to participate and active within the wider society, in politics, in economy, in education, and many aspects of the public life. While also at the same time, women are encouraged to maintain their own family and also their domestic matters. So the balance between domestic and public are encouraged with Muhammadiyah and Aisyah. This can be transformed through the female activism of Aisyah that has long record and long effort on the advocacy advocacy of various level of society. So as all you know, Muhammadiyah and Aisyah have various level of hierarchy organization from the top level, Pusat, Muhammadiyah, to the lowest level of the hierarchy, it's called Ranting Muhammadiyah. So this advocacy including the support for Indonesian women, regardless of their religion, their ethnic, and also their organization. What encouraged by Aisyah is to improve their education until the highest level as much as they can. Muhammadiyah and Aisyah believe that higher and better education for women can save them to increase women agency, their right awareness, and political and public representation. So investing in female education will help women to develop skill and facilitate them outside the employment, while labor force participation expose women to wider network and also support system outside the kin of the family. I think that's all, Prof. Alin.
Okay, thank you very much for the response, Dr. Fatima. Okay, my second question, how effective have the Islamic courts been in ensuring Muslim women who have been disinherited get back their property?
Okay, yeah, in Indonesia, the position of girls in Islamic inheritance or women in Islamic inheritance can be seen in the formulation of Kompilasi Hukum Islam or KUHP also, which state girls or women became heirs together with boys. Then the share of boy is 2:1 with girls. So Islamic inheritance system place girl in the same position. However, the moderate position is as Islamic verses is 2.1 or half portion of men. So women got half portion of men. But this is allow also to the family to consider and discuss what is the best and fit to their own circumstances. So not all Indonesian Muslim follow the moderate division, half portion among women and men, but also the consideration of the benefit or maslahah for the family is became also the core consideration in Indonesian society.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, I think my last question for Dr. Fatima, what recommendation would you give to Muslim women who wish to own property but are limited by patriarchal practices in their communities?
Okay, yes, as mentioned in earlier presentation, patriarchal structure are the main barrier to gender equality, including in our society. We identify an area where Islamic law guarantees equality, while patriarchal practices among us prescribe discrimination toward women. So women right advocacy is seen as the primary strategy for challenging the discrimination practices among us. So I would recommend women first of all to remember that Islam calls gender equality, and the second to support and also involve in women right activism or group to increase the literacy of the society. And the last, to educate and skill themselves and struggle to find the best education and the best employment for them, because I argue that women education and also women right advocacy has a very large influence in women's property rights.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fatima, who give us insight about how the also Indonesian context and practices in the Muslim community. Okay, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to the second speaker. Yeah, I'm going to introduce the second speaker, Dr. Umar Nianzi. He is going to present the case for realization of property right of Muslim widow at succession in Uganda. Dr. Umar Nianzi is currently president, Muslim Center for Justice and Law Uganda. He has a postgraduate diploma in legal practice, a bachelor degree in law, and training in corporate governance. And also he is an advocate of the High Court of Uganda and practitioner in human rights and family law. He has managed a program in access to justice, human rights, and peace building with a focus in Muslim communities in Uganda. Umar has passion working on the right of vulnerable groups, including women, person with disability, and children. So I will invite Mr. Umar Nianzi for talking about his idea. Okay, the time for you, Mr. Umar.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm privileged to present during this very important webinar on Islam and women's rights. I'll present a case for realization of property rights of Muslim widows at succession, and I'll contextualize my discussion on the case for Uganda. Of course, we all appreciate that in Uganda, our laws, they recognize a right to own property regardless of the gender. And women can acquire property through purchase, through donation, inheritance, just like any other Ugandan. But the question and why I chose this specific topic is that the problem comes at the point of inheritance. We've not seen so many challenges at outright purchase and donation. But at the point of inheritance, we've had so many issues. Our laws, they recognize that a person can either die leaving a will, or a person can die without leaving a will. And under those circumstances, they determine what you get in case you left a will and what a woman is entitled to in the event that there is no will that is left by the deceased person. And as Muslims in Uganda, we consider matters of succession as acts of worship. And that's where the challenge comes in, that you find a person has not left a valid will, but would like his affairs, or people he leaves back would like to regulate the matters of his estate or his affairs as if he left a will in accordance with the Islamic law. So the existence of pluralism, because we are allowed to use both Sharia and at the same time secular law at the same time, that legal pluralism determines where a woman is meant to go in the event, especially where the husband has died, and vice versa. But for purposes of this webinar, I'll concentrate on a scenario where the husband has died, leaving behind a widow. So in the event that no will is left by the deceased person, like you saw is the case for many people that you work upon at Muslim Center for Justice and Law, our laws require that you have to pass through the secular process of, first of all, proving the death of the person, going through the courts of law, and getting the letters of administration. That process is expensive, it is complex, and you'd find that very many Muslim widows, they fall out because they cannot afford, they do not have the expertise of the lawyers. The Muslim civil society assisting in such issues are still low, and very many people, because of the complexity of the formal procedures, they do not realize their property rights. There are very many challenges once a person dies without leaving a valid will. This Muslim lady is first of all tasked to prove marriage before you can be entitled to even get a death certificate. So you find that a person has lived for over 16 years in marriage. He has no documentation because our laws do not require registration of a marriage as a precondition for its validity. So you've lived with your husband for 16 years, and after 16 years, our laws are telling you prove that you are married in order to be able to get this documentation, to be able to get the property of your deceased husband. So very many people fail at that stage. They apply in Uganda, you are evidence in proof of marriage, without which you'll end at that level. So as a result, you'd find that very many people fall off and they fail to get any property just because they cannot prove a marriage. And we've seen so many people, even where a will is left, they do not even give, the wills that are made are not even in conformity with the Sharia, even where wills are left. And since the law does not recognize a Sharia will and a secular will, if the courts have gone ahead to implement the wills that do not conform to Sharia, even if a Muslim man left a will. So not all Muslims that leave wills, those wills conform to Sharia. So you find that women don't even get what the Quran gives to them because of the way that their deceased husbands make the wills, and that has caused so many challenges in realization.
Hello.
Of their property rights. Islam, yes.
Hello.
Yes,
I couldn't hear your voice clearly. Maybe can you repeat a little bit?
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm okay right now.
All right, thank you. That we have to understand that for Sharia, if you are to go by it, it comes as an option, because when you are to follow our customary practices here in Uganda, very many cultures are worse. A woman is not meant to from a deceased husband, according to most of the cultures in Uganda, as a game changer, though the proportions are still debatable by very many schools of thought, but at least it guarantees, like Fatima said, it guarantees a right to own property. At Muslim Center for Justice and Law, we've made several efforts to try to see that widows realize their property rights. And since the first question to the realization, most of the things that you have to comply with are legal requirements, we try to organize, we sensitize to see that these people know about their rights. They know that when my husband dies, this is what I'm meant to do. Very many women, when their husbands die, they just lie back and they are not aware that they're even entitled to the property. So awareness has been key for our organization, and we've represented very many women in courts of law, because we'd find that the major battle is between the relatives to the deceased husband and the widow. So we've tried to represent those indigent women in courts of law, and we've won cases. for a period of 3 years, we've given legal advice, mediation, and court representation to over 7,000 women. But also our Kadhi's court system also have challenges. When people go there to report these cases, in case a person left a will which is in accordance with Sharia, we've tried to train 50 Kadhi's court adjudicators in gender consideration, and we've equipped them with a diploma in law from the Law Development Center, such that they become sensitive while handling these issues. I would like to conclude by saying that if you are to realize property rights of widows, documentation is key, especially for the marriages, since it's a proof of marriage. Sensitization is key, and also involvement of the stakeholders, the women themselves, who don't know these rights, to build their capacity such that they can have the right to demand these rights, and also to peer learn from the secular laws to see how can we incorporate those aspects that are not in contradiction with Islam, but they are very important, like gender, like human rights consideration, which by far have been proved to be in accordance with Islam, but are not contextualized. We should, like Muslim Center for Justice and Law has been doing, to make sure that the law on Kadhi's courts, which is which would regulate marriage, divorce, inheritance, and custody, is comprehensive enough to guarantee property rights of Muslim women. When we move that direction, I'm sure that progressively Muslim widows will realize their property rights. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Umar, who sharing his experience when solving the widow's problem relating to the property in Uganda. Yeah. Okay. Now I have a question for you, Mr. What effort is Muslim Center for Justice and Law putting in place to ensure Muslim women are aware of their property rights? Would you like to respond? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That the question of awareness is key to realization of property rights of widows. Without awareness, widows cannot demand. So when it comes to Muslim women, the question of spaces, where do you find those women? Like, these are people who are not allowed to engage in public spheres. You'll not find many of them on such platforms. You'd find that our civil society space in my country is still limited. You know, from countries like Indonesia, I see they are so progressive. Malaysia, they are progressive. But for Muslim civil society in Uganda is shrinking. So as Muslim Center, we look for the safe spaces where to engage women, and we do community barazas. We find them where they are living, on radio, talk shows. We contextualize the message and tailor-make the message. We go to Juma, to the mosques at Juma, after Juma prayers, and we speak to them. And we've also conducted strategic research, like research on gender responsiveness in Muslim education system. So by doing all that, we try to create awareness to encourage women to demand their property rights at inheritance.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing the strategy to increase awareness for women for their property right. Okay, my second question is, what has been the achievement of Muslim women in Uganda in accessing justice on property rights?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, the achievement is positive. So I'll say achievement because the achievement has been low and little progress has been made realization of these property rights because of the challenges that I've highlighted, but also the cost for accessing some of these services is very high. The procedures are complex. There is the interpretation of these texts. They are interpreted in a manner that deprives women of their property rights.
Mm-hmm.
Laws are still archaic. So when you find these challenges, they outweigh the achievements that that women have registered. So I like to say that the achievement has been so low.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, my last question. Are there a dynamic between the young women and elderly Muslim women enjoying their property right? Is one category more vulnerable, and why?
All right, thank you very much. The elderly women are more vulnerable. More vulnerable because when you the cases that we record, actually for property generally, if you're talking about cases, for the young ladies, sometimes they've not yet gotten married. In case they've gotten married, they've not yet divorced, and any our life expectancy for one case for the ladies is now at 59. For men, it is at 57. So you find that by the time a person dies to talk about property rights at inheritance, it is happening at a later stage in someone's life. So the older women are more vulnerable because of those obvious reasons when they acquire property. So we've registered very few women, very few people below 30 are complaining about inheritance and property rights, especially for inheritance.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Umar, for all your sharing and also your experience dealing with the issue of women right property. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, now we are going to the third speaker, which is Mr. Muhammad Ali. He is going to talk about the epitomize of women property ownership from Islamic perspective. Mr. Muhammad Ali is a humanitarian specialist with more than 14 years of expertise in family planning and mental health programs. Muhammad has spent a significant amount of time working for non-governmental organizations in Kenya, Northern Arid Lands, Nairobi, Central Eastern, and Rift Valley. These organizations include the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim, or SUPKEM, and Center for Victims of Torture, International Organization of Migrant, and also Liverpool X Care and Treatment. Mr. Muhammad has a through understanding of project planning, executive monitoring, and evaluation. He currently coordinates a health project for the Supreme Council of Kenya. So I'm inviting Mr. Muhammad Ali to talk about your idea. Please.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon and good morning for those who are good evening for those who are in the evening, and good afternoon for us in West Africa. I'm going to check my topic from the pre-Islamic pre-Islamic women were treated as a property, and they were not entitled to inherit, whether as a mother or as a wife or as a daughter or a sister. But after the Islamic, in Islam, we accepted the right of the woman. The Islamic, the Quran, the whole verse of Quran was revealed by God on Islam, Surah An-Nisa, and Surah Al-Maryam also. Maryam is the mother of Jesus, was revealed. In so many ayahs and ayahs, God have mentioned specific women with a good deed and their right on the right thing that they have done for religion and for the people. So in Islam, Islamically, this Muslim Quran recognizes women as part of the society. They are accepted to own the property. They're accepted to buy or sell the property. So in Islam, a woman is high at standard, and whole chapter of the whole Quran is dedicated to them. In Islam, women have the right to own property, inherit, buy, sell, transfer, and own it. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that whole chapter of Quran for women, and also in Surah Maryam. In Islam, men and women have equivalent rights, including but not limited to work, equal acquired wealth, position of property, and concept of inheritance. The Quran clearly explained that. Example, in one surah, for men, God said, for men, there is a share for what their parent and close relatives live. And for women, there's a share from what their parent and close relative live. But it literally or considerably a defined share. In another surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah charge you in regard with your children. As a son, share is equivalent to the share of two daughters. If the children, only daughter, and two of them, their share is 2/3 of their legalized, and if there is only one daughter, her share is a half, or the legals a half, and each of the parent inherit 1/6 of the legal inheritance, I mean in simple term, and the deceased had a children. If the deceased had a children, if the deceased had no children and the parents are the only heirs, the mother inherit 1/3. If the deceased had brothers, the mother inherit 1/6. All this after executing the will and the settling the debt of the deceased. You are not allowed, you do not know which of your parents and children benefit you the most. This is Allah injection. Surely Allah is all known. So it is very clear in the whole Quran on inheritance of the mother and the wife have her share. When we look at, now I want to look at it from the description of Somali community, because where we are working is northern part of Kenya, predominated by a Somali community, who are mainly Muslims. The Somalis are community who also practice polygamy. In northeastern Kenya, there are many women rights violations that occurs, with most of them not being reported. That is also a fact. In the religious, the main problem that is encouraging the violation of women rights is long-standing cultural practice that are wrongfully misinterpreted to mean a religious obligation. In Islam, a woman held at a high standard, and the whole chapter of the whole Quran is dedicated to them. Although women and men were created differently of physical capability, This does not in any way drive them off right, if not advantage them for equity as regarded in Islam. In Islam, women have the right to own property, inherit, buy, sell, transfer. However, due to the long-standing cultural practice, this right is usually violated. For instance, in Somali setup, there is a common practice that inheritance is not actualized on time to tactified deny women their rights. They say that there is no reason to share the property and that the property can just be kept as a whole, and most cases it remain under the custody of the men, since the women are usually married away and are not in the homestead. During this period, the men use their inheritance property the way they wanted, and though end up using even the share of the women. Sometimes the women get old and die and end up not even inherited since her share of the property. There's also a common cultural practice where the father shared this property amongst their boys so that nothing remains for inheritance, though denying the girl child her right to inherit or her property. So those are some of the common issues that we had in this culture. Our faith-based strategy to address this as a SUPKEM, having been, we have been advocacy for work for quite some time. The organization has come to the realization of matters of human rights has deep-rooted misinterpretation in Islam, in cultural way, that it requires elaborate and careful strategy to address it. With this realization, the organization usually use the following strategy in addressing it through the imams at the mosque level, Muslim organizations that are partnering with us, community leaders, and community elders. One, use of men as a target group in women rights advocacy. The organization has realized that most attempts to address women rights violations have focused on empowering women. This has partly solved the matter of women rights, but not to the scale required. This one-sided focus has sometimes resulted to cause more women rights violations. Because when the woman is empowered without changing the perception of the man, then it will often result to men being resistant, and this further result to further family breaking, profiling of educated women, GBV, amongst other problems in order to address this matter. So, the organization has embraced on perception changing by demystifying religious misconception that result to women rights, as we also empower women by educating them. So we talk with the imams and the religious leaders in the community to address this issue in the mosque, during the Friday prayer, or in any other gathering of the Muslim community. The second is use of Islamic religions as advocate for women rights, which Islam has elaborated, discussed the right of women, and it is regarded as the best promoter of women rights over the world. However, due to little knowledge on the religious, some people wrongly translated, pretended cultures as Islamic religion. The organization, therefore, is keeping on educating the public on the women rights in Islam and try to separate culture from religion, especially in northern part of Kenya. The other one is we also developed contextual body of knowledge on women rights and Islam. The organization has realized that there is a minimum body of knowledge that they must demystify some of the cultural and misconception that may wrongly assumed to be religious especially in northern part of Kenya. The organization strives to build this knowledge so as to bridge the gap knowledge that exists in the region. So those are some of the things that we are doing to make sure that we promote the right of the woman and inheritance. And so, yes, that is some of the things that we were doing to make sure that the right of the women are not violated using the religious. So the recommendation on this, on the achievement as far as the organization effort is concerned, being actively engaged in advocacy, working with a specific focus on women's rights issues. We have also developed in our NEC representatives for women in the NEC. We have advocated for GBV in community, at the community level, in the mosque, and use the religious leaders to address it. Thank you. I hope I am within my time.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Ali, who shared about the issue relating to the inheritance, women's right, and also polygamy. Yeah, you're talking about also polygamy. So I have a question relating to the polygamy issues. Are there any challenges in administering property right in polygamy union? Yeah, as we know that polygamy in which a man has more than one wife. How was the problem about that one? Is there any challenge? Yeah. Sorry, you are still muted, Mr.
We are guided by the Holy Quran in terms of inheritance, whether polygamy or monogamy family. In Islam, mostly when one of the parents died, the inheritance, especially if the father died, the inheritance are done by the Qadi court or the religious leaders in the community. Majorly, most of the time, there was no an issue which we have experienced, but sometimes elderly siblings use a dubious means to bring an issue on not to go through the right channel, the religious, the court way or the religious way to take the lion's share of the inheritance. So, but mostly at the end, it will come back to the Qadi court. The Qadi will sort it out in according to the Holy Quran, and it is addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my second question is some cultural practices like Wahhat hinder Muslim women from enjoying their property rights. So what intervention is your organization taking to challenge harmful cultural practices?
We were doing sensitization for the community to make sure that the inheritance, all inheritance are done according to the Holy Quran with religious leaders or the Qadi court and the imams in the community. If it is in the rural part of the community, the village, by the imams. So we were doing sensitization of the religious and the community at large to strictly adhere to the Holy Quran for any property inheritance for any. In terms of inheritance, the Quran has clearly stated it on how the inheritance should be shared. And the organization has come to the realization that there is knowledge gap on Islam and women rights, especially on the right of the women to own property. So we do normally do sensitization to make sure that there will be no violation of any right in inheritance.
Okay, my last question, Mr. What approaches can Muslim institutions use to build solidarity and action to end women's property disinheritance?
You know, when we are looking at problem solving, we have to look at the cause of the problem, or who instigated the problem. So use of men as a target group in women rights advocacy is one of the way, which is the right way to do it. So second is use of Islamic religion as advocacy for women rights. You know, when you use women as men and sensitize them, you use religion because people, most of Muslims normally they don't refuse, or I don't know how to use, refuse to accept anything you are said. This is the word of God. So use of Islamic religions advocacy for women rights, develop contextual body of knowledge on how right Islam, women rights and Islam is mentioned in the whole Quran. Then a continuous, that one is continuous sensitization of the rights of women in community.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Ali. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we already listening all speakers talking about women right and property right in Islam, and now I have some question for each speaker. Yeah. First for Dr. Fatima, yeah. After listening all speaker as well, maybe you have any idea as well relating to how does theology informs gender role with regard to women realizing their property rights.
Sorry, can you repeat, Prof. Alim?
Okay, Dr. Fatima, yeah, this for you, yeah. Okay, how does theology informs gender roles with regard to women realizing their property rights?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, the gender is not respected equally by Islamic theology, and Islam doesn't marginalize one specific gender from another. So both male and female are both respected and protected by Islamic theology. So they both have the right to own and to struggle for owning the property, and also they have their capacity to manage, to sell, to rent, and to remanage all the property that they have. Yes, I think that's the answer.
Okay, before continuing our question, I'm also invite for other participants, yeah, to write the question in the chat box. So the speaker will answer later. So now I'm going to go to the Mr. Muhammad, yeah. I have a question as well for you, Mr. Islam grants women the right to own property, even independently. What are some of the challenges that Muslim women face in their pursuit of realizing property rights? Yeah, Dr. Muhammad, would you please respond? Are you still muted? Maybe I repeat again the question, yeah. Islam grants women the right to own property, even independently. What are some of the challenges that Muslim women face in their pursuit of realizing property rights?
Maybe there is problem with the connection, yeah?
Yeah. Are you with me, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh, okay then. Yeah,
What was the question?
Yeah, you explained that Islam grant the honor, the women have their own right, yeah, for the property, even independently. But as we know that there are many challenges, yeah. So what are some of the challenges that Muslim women face in their pursuit of realizing their property?
Okay, the challenges normally don't come from the religion part, but it comes from the cultural part, which is normally the family members or the spouse who want to possess the property of the woman as part of his property. So when the woman is accepted to have property, they can have a property, they can buy and sell the property within the religion. It should be halal and the other guideline of the property in terms of Islam. But the challenges normally come when it comes to the cultural part of it, not religion part of it, where one of the spouse or one of the siblings want to control or take over or be part, annexed to the property of the woman. That is where the issue of the challenges of the women come. But Islamically, as far as that property within the religion, accepted religion guideline, they can have the property, they can sell and sell it out.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think all speakers agree that Islam grant women to have their own property, but there are also some discussion, yeah, among scholars that, for example, when we're talking about inheritance, there are some scholars who perceive 1.5, for example, but some other scholars that they have equal share, for example, on inheritance, yeah. So okay then, I'm going to Mr. Umar. Okay.
Just before you go to Mr. Umar,
yep.
You know, there's a clear ayah on inheritance in the Holy Quran. So God put it clearly, and he has his wisdom why he make this one like this and this one like this. So personally, first guiding for inheritance in terms of female is it has to be the Holy Quran. How much does God side for her? That should be what she inherit from the father, not what she has. So what she has is her property, but what she inherit from the father, first it has to be guided within the Holy Quran. What has God said about it? How much does God give? Then the ayah is very clear, and it is, yes.
Okay, because if listening from Dr. Fatimah earlier, that she mentioned at least there are 3 opinions about perception on the inheritance, yeah. Although literally said that is clear, as you mentioned that 2.5, for example, but there are some scholars who interpret differently, yeah, relating to inheritance, yeah, because some of them try to understand contextually, not literally exactly what is written in the Quran. Okay, I'm going to the Mr. Umar for my question. Okay, Mr. Umar, yeah, how can faith leader effectively support women who face challenges in acquiring or disposing property?
Okay, thank you very much. We've found scenarios where the faith leaders are the perpetrators, or they are the ones that are promoting the deprivation of women when it comes to inheritance and divorce. Sometimes you find a woman reports a case to the Qadhi's court, but you find the faith leader conniving with a man to try to make sure that she doesn't get anything. So really, it depends on the faith leader. First of all, we have to build the capacity of the faith leader to be able to give justice to the woman. But when you leave this lay faith leader in the state in which many of them are, they'll be doing more harm than good. So we need to build their capacity. Then what are they meant to do? I think they should look beyond. They should look beyond the ordinary day-to-day routine that they do, leading prayers, encouraging people to fast, among others. But they should be able to take on other roles like making appropriate referrals. If a person comes with a legitimate problem, he has been deprived of property, can you go to police such that the perpetrator is arrested? Can you have faith leaders linking up with courts of law, with police, with legal aid service providers, such that they play an active role? In doing so, we find that very many women would trust the faith institutions and not run to the secular remedies, because now there is pressure because of the capacity of our faith leaders. So they need to do something more than the prayer, the fasting, the zakah. They should get involved in access to justice roles, like making appropriate referrals and creating strategic linkages.
Okay, thank you very much for all the explanation. Okay, before continuing respond from the audience, I have done my research on inheritance. In my dissertation, I found there are 3 ideas on interpretation of religious text related to the inheritance. For the first interpretation, which is literally meaning conservative turn, they believe, they interpret that inheritance men and women is exactly what is written in the Quran, 2.5. Women get 1, men get 2. This is from the conservative turn. And for the moderate turn, yeah, male get 2, women get 1, but encouraging the family to discuss which one is the best one. It might be the family give hadiah, give a present for the daughter because they only get a half share. This is from the middle interpretation. But the third interpretation, the inheritance divided equally between men and women, or it divided based on the needy. It means that which one of the daughter or the son who have more need, and then they get more. So my example of the family, for example, yeah. Okay, this is because of patriarchal culture. They send the son go to the doctor university. They got doctor, and then they married with the doctor. So they established economically. But because of patriarchal culture, the daughter has to responsible to taking care of their mother and father who was sick at the time. Then when the inheritance is divided, for the first interpretation, they don't care if the daughter went to the university is not consideration. Because you are daughter, you only get a half from your brother, although they already established economically. This is from the first interpretation. But from the second interpretation, okay, the brother get 2 and the daughter get 1, but brother, please give your share to your sister. She didn't go to university. She taking care of the parents. So please give your share to the daughter, to your sister. This is the second interpretation. But the third interpretation, the inheritance divided equally, or might be the daughter will get more than the son, because the daughter didn't go to university, because they taking care of the parents. So because they use the heart, yeah, because how come we give unequal share of inheritance for the daughter who already have taken care of their parents? Or maybe can be we collect all the the expensive for university take out first, not inheritance, so give it to the daughter, then the rest will be a part of the inheritance. So you know that's my finding from my dissertation. There are many people also who stand for the third interpretation. So this is the reality in society there. When we talking about the inheritance, it's not only single interpretation. Okay, sorry, maybe I'm not to become the first speaker for talking about the dissertation, my dissertation.
So it's good. Good insight.
Okay, so it's not only one interpretation, yeah, when we talking about the Quran, when about the inheritance, because sometimes we have to talk with our heart, yeah, about this inheritance, gitu. Okay.
Yeah, Professor, just before you move, you know, there's two things here. You know, when the family meets, and maybe we are polygamy family, example,
okay.
And one family is well established, people are educated, but the other family, maybe the kids are young, they are coming up. So as brothers, we can agree that, okay, inheritance, let us give to the small kids for them to come up so that maybe the stepmother or they make it as a bill. That one is an agreement, mutual agreement between the family.
Okay.
But there is one thing which is which need to be a bit clear. Example, like when I'm alive and with my daughters, I give them what they want. I give them the property they want. That one is now what I give to my kids. So it doesn't go into inheritance even after I die. But when it comes to inheritance, you know, the religion about inheritance before you die. When you are in a state of dying, process of dying, anything that you say you give to this person is not counted Islamically, right? So
depend on Islamic perceived by who.
Yeah, so that is now, you know, there's normal agreement between the brothers, you know, a lot of other agreement, and there's a religion part of it which have been revealed by the God. And it is the Sunnah and that, which is exactly written as in the Holy Quran. So I don't refuse or disagree in terms of the agreement, which normally happens a lot. But if the family do not agree on, with a lot of, nowadays, a lot of people look at wealth more than the siblings or the brotherhood. It must go into the inheritance in terms of the way it is. Thank you.
I think it's time for participants to join with us because this is a very interesting topic. Yeah, I think there is someone who raised hand. Can someone who raised hand open the mic? Oh, Peter, yeah. Okay, please, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's a very interesting discussion. And thank you very much, Ali Matul, for the moderation. Fatima, I'm happy to see you, Umar and Mohammed. Michael too. Now, my question is to Umar. You say that the religious leaders should be encouraged to refer cases that are reported to them to either the police or other jurisdictions like the courts and others that can maybe give a more balanced judgment. But my question then is how well linked are the Qadi courts and the religious leaders with the enforcement agencies, the law enforcement agencies, the police and others? And would it not be seen as if the religious leader is doubting their own systems, and therefore, by extension, be considered by others as a betrayal, that you are sending away our people and we are not the ones now arbitrating on these cases? Thank you.
Okay, please respond from Peter question, Mr. Umar.
All right, thank you, Peter. And this has to be a two-way, and in essence, it has to be a collaboration between the informal religious structures and the formal justice structure. Indeed, as we're beginning in 2010 as MCJL, this is one of the issues that we're addressing, that you would find a religious leader handling a case of rape, mediating a murder case. So legally, there are limits. There is a clear line that defines what a religious leader can handle and what a formal justice structure can handle. For instance, for succession matters, religious leaders cannot give letters of administration. And a woman needs these letters of administration to be able to transfer land in her names, to be able to transfer a car in her names, to be able to transfer shares of the company into her names. So when a religious leader goes ahead to distribute the items informally without involving the office of the Administrator General and courts, you are giving this widow hot air. She will not get the legal interest in the property and will not have helped her. So I'm not saying that they should report everything, but they should collaborate on matters where the law specifies that this should be handled this way. Justice structures also refer cases to religious leaders. If I say my property should be distributed according to Sharia, there is no court or the office of the Administrator General doesn't have that expertise. They'll refer it to the religious leader. But as I should emphasize that there is need to build their capacity to do all this, but there should be a collaboration.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Umar. I think I saw there are two participants also who raised hand. First, Mulenga Charity. Okay, please.
Yes, this has been a very interesting topic. I just want to pose a question, I think mainly from the Umar, who talked about educating the women to have their rights and so forth. Is there a way of also educating the couples, premarital counseling, so that they know what is going to happen in the marriage and the inheritances, so that all those things are discussed, so that we are not getting into these problems that we are getting into when a spouse dies? That's my question. Thank you very much. All of you have presented very interesting, I've made very interesting presentations.
Okay, thank you very much, Mulenga. Yeah, I think question also goes to the Mr. Umar, the couple education for premarital, marriage. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. That's indeed interesting, and I agree that in premarital sessions is something that we should emphasize. For instance, in Uganda, we've put in our region the issue of HIV testing before celebration of marriage. So even these are the issues that we should probably incorporate in our culture, because whereas the Islamic culture is evolving depending on the times at hand. However, when you reach what transpires in premarital counseling, they are teaching people how to love their husbands, how to make children, how to, those niceties of marriage. When you bring in that you people, it's premarital education, and let's talk about divorce. What are the rights at divorce? people are in love and you're telling them, now in case a husband dies, this is what you're entitled to. Such conversations, they are not ready to hear them. So whereas it would be a good idea, but in the current, the purpose of the premarital sessions that are currently happening, they are talking about the niceties of marriage as if there shall be no divorce and death, and something that you should think about as a network.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Umar, who respond Molengak's question. I saw also Kaman Z Willie also raise hand. Would you please? Open your mute. Hello? Yeah, Kaman Z Willie Fred. Okay. Oh, you go. Yeah, you are still muted. Maybe okay.
Yes, hello.
Hello. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, yes, we are hearing you.
I am Wilfred Command from Burundi. Maybe I can use French. It will be good for me. Merci beaucoup. Je suis intéressé par le thème du jour. Merci encore à tous les présentateurs. Merci encore, Monsieur Oumar Nyanzi. Je voudrais adresser la question à Oumar Nyanzi. Peut-être les autres, vous pouvez intervenir. Ici, on a parlé des choses de la partage des propriétés aux veuves. Aussi, on a parlé de polygamie, les choses comme ça. Je voudrais savoir quels sont les problèmes rencontrés lorsque l'homme est décédé avec deux femmes ou prises dans le partage des propriétés aux veuves qui restent. Ici, c'est vraiment, j'ai voulu savoir, vous savez très bien combien de fois, c'est pas maintes fois, vous savez très bien que l'homme musulman a le droit de marier 2 ou 3 femmes, peut-être. Moi, je me demande si l'une des deux femmes est reconnue par la loi du pays et les autres femmes sont reconnues par comment vous les appelez? Sharia. Sharia, les lois de musulmans que vous utilisez. Comment résolver les questions-là si la femme est reconnue par la loi du pays disait non, moi je suis la femme reconnue par les lois du pays. Vous n'êtes pas des femmes, vous n'êtes pas reconnues. Comment vous résolvez ce problème entre ces veuves? Quels sont les conseils que vous donneriez-vous aux femmes ou je peux dire les filles qui ne sont pas encore mariées? Vous pouvez les encourager de continuer de la même manière ou de ne pas continuer pour ne pas avoir beaucoup de problèmes. Aussi, Monsieur Oumar Nyanzi, j'aimerais savoir quels sont les principes de femmes dans votre organisation. Parce qu'on peut dire des propriétaires, des choses comme ça, mais quel est le rôle de la femme dans votre organisation? Vous les donnez quelle place? Comment vous montrez aux autres que les femmes sont capables? Comment vous arrivez à influencer les autres, de laisser les femmes devenir des leaders, de laisser les femmes de conduire les autres? Merci beaucoup.
Okay, I think question also goes to the Mr. Umar, but also invite other speaker who can respond relating to the what are the challenges faced by the polygamy family relating to inheritance, and also how do you have advice? What kind of advice if there is different different position yet between the like the idea, the interpretation between the government and also the ulama relating to what we are talking about, and also how in your organization when talking
She lost connection. Michael, I guess.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I think she'll be back in a second.
Okay.
But maybe
But
somebody
we got
could be
the point, actually. We
Yes,
got the point. Yeah, we can share each other our insight, I think. What do you think, Michael and Beth?
exactly. Please go ahead.
Umar, can you respond first, or me, or Muhammad? I don't know.
Let me go for honorary polygamy. And that the fact is that polygamy has really posed challenges at inheritance. There is a case we handled, and this man had 5 wives, not 4, and all of them had undergone nikah. So the issue came, the sheikh sat and all of them got property. And the method they used was consensus. So they sat as a family and they gave that woman some property. Then it also arises where in Uganda would find people go for polygamy, but they do not have sufficient resources. He has 1 house and 4 wives. 3 wives are renting, or 2 wives are in one house and the others are renting. So when you go by the strict interpretation of Sharia, they have to divide this property. So you'd find Muslims fragmenting land in the name of Sharia. You find someone 1 house, but is divided into four people, each getting a very small porch like a rat. So you'd find that polygamy has really posed the challenges. It is only good if each wife has her own home. That way it is easy. But we've really tried to apply what does the law say, and in most cases mediating between the parties. In case one property has been left, they have to seal it off and they all get, but it has not been an easy task. My brother Kamanzi, we've really had challenges where multiple wives, legal and cohabiting are involved. We've really had challenges.
Okay, so my turn, maybe from Indonesian point of view, then later Muhammad, yeah, on polygamous marriage. Peter, thank you for the question. Yes, I do agree with Umar. Wife in polygamous marriage, first, second, third, or four, basically have the same right to inherit, and this is regulated in Indonesia in the compilation of Islamic law. So it official law belong to the state, but based on Islamic teaching. The share of the wife, either the wife is single or together with other wives, 1, 2, 3, or 4, is regulated based on the Quranic verse An-Nisa 12. So wife get a quarter of what you leave if you have no children. So if you have children, then the wife get 1/8 of the property you left after fulfilling your will or after paying your debt. In the Quran, it says, "Walahunna rubu'u mimma taraktum illam yakul lakum walad. Fa in kana lakum waladin falahunna thumun mimma taraktum min ba'di wasiyatin tusuna biha audain." So thus, if the husband has more than one wife, the share quarter or ar-rubu' will be distributed on a pro rata basis to all the wife belong to the husband. But it's worth also to mention here, I would like to share Muhammadiyah organization in Indonesia highly recommended us Muslim to have sakinah mawaddah warahmah marriage. So an-nikah under the framework of sakinah mawaddah warahmah in Arabic with only one wife. So Muhammadiyah never encourage Muslim men to have polygamous marriage. So it is allowed, yes, in the Quran, and we read and understand the Quran, but then we also realize the context of the polygamous marriage in Islamic early time. So if the condition and all the condition of the husband is not really fit with polygamous marriage, is not recommended. So single wife is the best for Muhammadiyah organization in Indonesia. That my response. So I think I will give this to Muhammad. Sorry to take over Prof. Kalim position.
No, thank you,
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah, please, Muhammad.
I think, you know, when we talk of polygamy in terms of, in context of Islam, people normally abuse, because in the Holy Quran, when God accepted polygamy, there's a condition tied to that: second wife for you to get, third wife or fourth wife for you to get. One of the major conditions is, can you take care of them financially? Can you be sexually satisfied? Can you do justice between them? But you know, because of their eager or greediness, may normally use the ayah wrongly. So polygamy normally comes up, and just in normal setup or circumstance, normally polygamy have some challenges in terms of inheritance naturally, but if strictly followed according to the Quran, it does not have any challenges. If strictly follow the Quran the way the ayah said, and the inheritance of it all clearly, the way it is. But when we look at the setup, the dynamic of the polygamy, how different people of different characters or different expectation meeting and want to inherit something, or maybe the past grudge between the family because of 1, 2, 3, it might bring. But when it is not strictly followed in terms of the Islam, but when the inheritance are done according to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet, everyone will get satisfied, because share, when you are doing inheritance in terms of Quran, there's no polygamy there. It's a son of Muhammad, Hassan, and they are inheriting the small 100 shillings that Muhammad had it. So the Quran divide among us themselves the 100 that I have, for everyone to get his share. So, but you know, because of the setup, how that maybe the father was doing maybe injustice between the family, maybe taking care of one, leaving the other one behind, giving wealth when he was alive to another one, maybe that conflict might be there. But all in all, when we come back to the inheritance according to the Quran, that is clearly, it will not be any big problem. Thank you. Welcome back, Prof.
Sorry, my signal is gone. Okay, sorry, because the electricity cut off because there are many floods in this area.
Okay,
So
we
there
have,
is
Prof. Alim, for your
Yes.
information, we have respond to number 1 question about polygamous married. So
Yep.
we go to number 2 about what the organization role to empower women within our society. That's the next. So I'll give to you again.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fatima. Yeah. So
Prof, I want to pray Hasser kindly with your permission, just 5 minutes. In case of any question of mine when I'm in prayer, maybe you can hold for me at 5.
okay, please, it doesn't matter, Mr. Muhammad, for praying Asher. Okay, so for the second question relating to what is your organization opinion relating to the polygamy, is that all right, Ibu Dr. Fatima?
Not about polygamous married, but about empowering women at the whole and in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe before going to that one, for polygamy, can you, Ibu Dr. Fatima, can you respond about the Muhammadiyah Aisyah organization opinion on polygamy?
Okay, yeah. I have briefly mentioned just now that Muhammadiyah and Aisyah highly recommend Muslim men to have one single wife married under the concept of Sakinah, Mawaddah, Warahmah instead of polygamous marriage with 2, 3, or 4 wives. So it is not recommended, almost forbidden within our organization because the darurat. So a darurat in usul fiqh is usulul fiqh. It's our priority considering the maslahah within the ummah and also the family, the usrah. So it's one single wife only. But yeah, just now I also mentioned that yeah, I think that's all about the Muhammadiyah and Aisyah, Prof. Alim. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Fatima, because I'm also one of the Fatwa members in Muhammadiyah organization, and we already discussed a long time ago, and with the big debate as well, based on the 25 years the Prophet Muhammad as monogamous family, and then he also didn't allow Fatima was polygamous by Ali bin Abi Thalib, and so on and so on. So in Aisyah Muhammadiyah organization believe that the Sakinah, Mawaddah, Warahmah family is only can achieve with the monogamous family. So no discussion on polygamy in our organization, yeah. Even dream of the polygamy family is not okay. Okay then. So go to the second question relating to the women empowerment, yeah, in the organization. Maybe would you please respond on that second question? Maybe start from the Mr. Umar.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll be back, Professor. About women empowerment within our organizations. For Muslim Center for Justice and Law, we have clear policies for representation of women at right from the board level, from the management level, and even at the level of the president or executive director. For instance, if I'm the executive director, the vice president has to be female, and when I serve for my term, the successor has to be female. So come 2023, you'll be seeing a female president of Muslim Center for Justice and Law when my term ends. So those, in terms of staffing, we give special consideration to women. We give an additional point in the appraisal at recruitment level. In case you're a woman, you score higher, more so for the work that that can be done by the women. And for the staff, for our workforce of over 30 people, like 22 staff are female. So we do it deliberately. It's within the policy, and we encourage it to be practiced, not just speaking about it.
Okay, thank you very much for respond, Mr. Umar. Okay, Ibu Ai Fatimah, would you please respond for the second question? Dr. Fatimah, would you please respond for the second question relating to the women empowerment program or activity in your organization?
Okay, Prof. Alim, I think you still have unstable connection because sometimes your voice is gone, but then come again. Okay, so I will answer to the second question about woman empowerment in our organization. It's called Aisyah. It's a women organization within the Muhammadiyah, the oldest and biggest modernist organization in Indonesia. So Aisyah is emerged or built up in 1917 and have struggled very long time, very long, and record in all aspects of society, from education, social, economic, and political aspect of women. So beginning from education for women, Aisyah emerged as the power in society to empowering women, who has no access at the time to education and no access to economic and so on because of the patriarchal system at the time. But also not only because of the patriarchal culture, but also because of textualist interpretation within the Muslim conservative community. So it's also influenced to the women at the time. But Aisyah, through Nyai Walidah, the founder of the organization, built the education center called Al-Asri and Al-Maghribi School that call women to improve their education level and their skill level, so they can have a role in our society in both dakwah, social, economic, and also politics in Indonesia. That the empower effort within the Aisyah organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe I will also add some information relating to Muhammadiyah and Aisyah organization when talking about the women right in Islam. Inshallah, we will also issue some of the fatwa relating to Adabul Mar'ah fil Islam, but we're talking about some controversial issues as well, relating to women imam, also relating to the inheritance and many other women rights issue in our fatwa. And inshallah, we will be published soon about the fatwa, and we discuss about some many women rights issue which also contentious issue, especially when we talking about the women imam for adult men. Okay, then I invite Dr. Muhammad. You already done with your prayer asar, so there are some questions relating to the what is the women empowerment program in your organization.
In our organization, normally when there's we have introduced in a NEC representation of a female in a NEC, women representatives from NEC to the grassroots. In terms of job opportunity, we normally advertise, and any person who passed the interview is given opportunity. In fact, we have so many women working in organization now. Our accountant is a female, and empowerment of women for SUPKEM is a priority, and right of the woman is a priority for us.
Okay, then. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I think we almost approaching the finish for our webinar. Maybe I will give some time for the closing remark for each speaker. Start from the Ibu Fatima, Dr. Ai Fatima. Would you please to give some closing remark?
Alimatul, somebody would like to speak. They have their hand raised.
Is there someone who raised hand? Peter?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, I thought there is already the last raised hand. Okay, thank you. Please, Peter.
And the question was actually to you. So I'm wondering where. Okay, I was wondering, are you running away from my question now?
Okay, then I'm ready to answer your question.
Thank you. But of course, the others also can answer. I am very interested in the dissertation, the three types of inheritance that you found. First, to check with you, is this dissertation available in English?
Yep. Yeah, because I was graduated from University Western Sydney, so my dissertation available in that library relating to feminist identity and the view of contentious gender issues among feminist women elite activists. So maybe you can just Google my name in Western Sydney University, and then maybe will come up my dissertation. Because my dissertation trying to figure out the three interpretation relating to the inheritance, relating to women imam, relating to polygamy, relating to the decision maker in the family, and then women creation and witness. There are 9 issues, 9 gender issues, yeah, in my dissertation, and we try to divide it into 3 interpretation, and also we had a survey among the women activists, male and female, in 6 universities in my city in Yogyakarta. So maybe you can check it about my dissertation.
Thank you. Maybe if you have a chance, you can put the details on the chat, and then it will help people to search. But what I wanted to then ask around the 3 types of inheritance is, did you find that they have any scriptural support? Like, are they supported by the Quran or any other holy scriptures? Because I think what is supported sometimes is much more, it's very, very powerful. The different types of inheritance that exist, and maybe the others also could contribute to that.
Yeah, in Indonesian context, actually, who practice for the third interpretation, which is equally shared or divided in based on the need, actually is quite much. Yeah, according to research, is around 60%. In Indonesian community who choose the third interpretation. Maybe they don't go to the religious interpretation, but the cultural cultural views, yeah. But this is the reality in Indonesia, and in my research is also quite a lot of numbers relating to people who choose the third interpretation. Maybe you can see in more detail the argument on also the normative work that people use to support their argument in my dissertation. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay then.
May
Because
I
if 5 minutes left, yep.
Prof. Alim, your dissertation is available and can be downloaded from Google Scholar.
I don't know.
I have checked.
Oh, okay. You check it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a brief information. Okay.
Okay, maybe you can put it also in the chat so participant can download my dissertation about it.
Okay.
Okay, then I think please I ask for the closing remark for the all speaker. 1 minute, please. Okay, Ibu Dr. Fatima, would you please go first?
Okay, thank you very much. It's been an honor for me to have meet all the speaker and also all the committee from Fair to Action Network, and I really see this is an interesting topic that urgent to elaborate and to develop further through a long research base, because what I share just now, it's only based on my reading and understanding. But if we try to see our phenomenon in our society, it's very complex. So it's not it's not single situation, but very heterogeneous because of many different interpretation, from conservative to moderate to also progressive community. And also not only about understanding the text, but also understanding our culture and political system in our state or society. That's also important to see further after this discussion. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fatima. Would you please, Mr. Umar, for closing remark, 1 minute?
All right, thank you very much for moderating the session. It has been a pleasure learning so much from the presentations. It's been a pleasure learning about the 3 instances. I've been hearing about it, but I'd failed to find the text where someone can come up with the evidence. I'll try to look for the dissertation and I see whether it is applicable here. I think to Peter and the others, we need to learn so much from countries whose jurisprudence has progressed as a network, and we really need extensive discussions about the same, because I confess that professors don't have time to give us what is meant to give us, but it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Umar. Would you please, Mr. Muhammad, to give closing remarks? You are still muted.
Thank you, Professor. It was an interactive session, very knowledgeable. I really gained a lot of knowledge, but I wanted to read that write-up of yours on, especially on what you're going to say on a woman imam. What is your opinion on that? That is really interesting for me. I want to read it and see it. It will be very interesting for me, really, if I can see and read it. But otherwise, it was a good session. We had a very interactive session. I really appreciate all participants and F2F for organizing this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for all speakers. I just want to conclude some words here that yeah, I think all speakers agree that women have the same right for the ownership of property, but relating to inheritance, I think there are still many different opinion and interpretation about the share of inheritance between men and women, as Ibu Dr. Fatimah mentioned about the difference interpretation of inheritance. And also, I think that because of the word of Khalifah to feel arts is also goes to the women, then women also have the right to work outside. It means that also earn money and also they have property, which is some cases independently they have their own property. So I think that's a very interesting discussion today. And then for the closing prayer, would you please, Mr. Umar, to lead our prayer?
All right. Yes, thank you very much. And let's humble ourselves for a word of prayer in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. We thank you for having enabled us meet despite the different time zones that we are all coming from. We thank you for the energy that you've given to the F2A team and the other team for organizing this important webinar. We thank you for the wisdom that you've bestowed upon the moderator and the panelists of that day. We pray that you retain the knowledge and let it be among something that's going to change the lives of the women. Let it be something that's going to help us achieve the ultimate goal of the GSPRA program. We pray for more wisdom. We pray for life. In the name of God we pray. Amen.
Amin, amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you very much, Mr. Umar, who lead our prayer for our webinar today. And also thank you very much for all participants and also for all speaker and Faith to Action Network, and also for the committee, Michelle, who deal with all technical problem and other thing. Thank you very much, and hopefully we will see you all in the next session and with a different topic relating to women rights in Islam. So anyone who trying to want to know about my dissertation, please write down my name in Google and then you will find my dissertation as well. Sorry for to be as the fourth speaker today, not only moderator. Yeah. So thank you very much, and let's close together with Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Umar, Mohammed, and all.
Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.